From humble beginnings, Insurance Claim HQ has grown to one of the largest property casualty firms in the country. We didn't do it alone, and you shouldn't either. Every week, we're talking to claims professionals and top experts from all over, all to help you grow your business and make you stronger. Let's level up together. I'm Galen Hair. Welcome to the Level Up Claims Podcast. Welcome back to the Level Up Claims Podcast. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of our traditional format, we're bringing you a featured session directly from the 2026 Level Up Claims Summit. One of the biggest themes at this year's summit was simple. Growth means nothing if your operations can't support it. When catastrophe events hit, when claim volume spikes, and when your business starts scaling faster than expected, operations become the difference between thriving and drowning. To discuss that topic, I'm joined by someone who knows our operation better than anyone else. The Chief Operating Officer here at Insurance Claim HQ, Ashley Bickford, has been instrumental in building the systems, processes, training, and accountability structures that keep our organization running through rapid growth and catastrophe response. Let's go there now as Ashley shares practical lessons on scaling operations, eliminating bottlenecks, leveraging technology, and preparing your business before the next storm arrives. All right, so Ashley's the one that actually runs the firm. She's the reason this firm functions when the building's on fire, which it seems to catch fire quite often.
Other than that one time, you did put out the fire.
I actually physically put out the fire the one time it caught fire. That is true. All right, so let's talk. So from every wave from the opening keynote that we discussed, all 6 waves, AI doing the real work, scarcer labor, smarter adversaries, TikTok trained policyholders, it all hits operations first. Operations is the first thing that breaks. Marketing is what it is. Marketing is just about getting cases. And Ashley is the person that has to catch all this crap when it comes in and hits operations first, because I just want to be in court and play in front of a judge all day, right? So before we get into solutions, let's start with what chaos actually means. So in various CATs that we've had this year up for, we're talking like 30 new claims a week per attorney sometimes, right? Intake absolutely drowning, money moving in 5 directions, none of which is in. Files identified by name in a room with 200 identical last names. That was a lot of fun. That's kind of the world we lived in. So what was the area that we got hit with first in our first CAT event as far as operations goes?
I would say intake was the first problem that we kind of noticed. The key with intake after a CAT event would be being available. You need to be able to take those calls and handle them accurately and collect all of the data that you need to move the cases forward.
And what was intake like for us right before our first CAT event?
Well, we were very small at the time, so we didn't have a dedicated intake department, and we were utilizing the intake department of a partner firm that specialized in personal injury and had their own proprietary system. So they were used to, onboarding an individual from a car accident, and we do property claims. A lot of our clients are a husband and wife, a married couple. So they weren't even getting the contract signed by all of the policyholders. So when the checks would come in, we'd have to go back. We're still on some of them going back and getting the second signature on some of those older files. So they just weren't, equipped to handle those property cases. And also their system did not talk very well with our case management system. So we lost a lot of data in the process.
So how did you fix this ultimately?
After some time, we switched intake systems. We also brought intake in-house. Our new intake system communicates seamlessly with our case management system, transfers everything over, has a lot better referral and attribution tracking, and having the team in-house is a lot better for us because we can train them how we want them to onboard the property claims.
But I guess I want to talk about that because you didn't just go buy like a new software. You did. We bought a new shiny software. But a lot of work went into that to actually make, let's talk about the work that actually went into setting that up and what was important. It wasn't just buying the best thing on the shelf that would do the job. It was about how it worked.
Yeah, one of our key things was having it communicate seamlessly with our case management system. And the one we use is Lead Docket. And it's I don't know, is it built by Filevine actually?
No, it was built by another guy and then they bought it or something. It was super weird.
They're very connected though, and a lot of other firms use it as well, including our other partner firm. So we're able to easily transfer cases back and forth. So in the event they get a property claim just through their marketing efforts, they're able to easily transfer it to us with all of the data that we need.
And the biggest thing I noticed Ashley built out were connectors. Every time a new lead source comes in, like a marketing source, every time another law firm starts sending us cases, now Bobby says, what is your intake system? They tell us, and Ashley had already kind of made it an SOP for us that whoever's in charge of that, our intake director or Bobby or our training people, they would build a connector so we could get all that information without losing any data, right? And data is really big. Any of you that have ever sent us a case, like, what is the point in sending it to us if we, at the end of the day, lose the policy number, lose the claim number, don't understand what you did, don't know what the data loss is? All you did is told us to call a client. You didn't we're not actually utilizing that data, and that's really frustrating for your client that you trusted to refer to us, right? So we did that. The other problem is then we had intake in-house, which created a whole new problem because at the other firm, they had like 80 intake people. They would like fire 30 every week and hire 30 new ones, so it wasn't good, but they were very well staffed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had 3 people at one point, maybe
Yeah,
2. Yeah.
yeah.
And then someone got sick and intake went to hell, right? Yeah.
So it's very difficult when you have that small of a team to be ready for either a large event to scale up or to prepare for somebody to be out. So we worked on adding offshore agents and cross training other staff from the operations team, and eventually we will cross train some case managers as well. But in order to do that, we had to develop a training program that we could easily send out to different people because what we had before was just, oh, go sit with so and so, they'll show you what to do, which that doesn't work when you have to train 5 people at one time.
Yeah, it turns out saying "sit with so and so" is actually not an effective training method. I did not realize. Had no idea. Referral sources is a really big deal, and I think it's salient to some of the people in the room. I'll say the things you aren't comfortable saying. We we're really fortunate to get a lot of referrals from people in this room, not in this room, all over the place. We also, I think, try to treat our attorneys really well for the cases that they generate. We don't just expect them to bring cases in and not be compensated for that. But we found a loophole. We had an attorney, I won't say his name, he's not here anymore, who would actually go in and just change that field in our software to say he generated the case, which would cause two things to happen. It meant if Robin, for instance, sent the case over, we didn't know Robin sent the case over because he'd also delete that because otherwise we'd know it wasn't from him. So we would not give Robin an update, for instance, because we had no idea that she had a vested interest in the case. And then secondly, when it came to funds, a lawyer could get paid more than they were entitled to pay for, which is not good business practice, as you could imagine. What did you do about that? And I no, she did not hit him. What did you do?
Well, at first, our case management system, Fileline, it didn't have a lot of permissioning capabilities, but as time has gone on, they've gotten a lot better and more granular with their permissions, and we're now able to lock fields. So there are certain fields that can only be changed by certain members of admin, and that is one of those fields. Comes over from intake and it's locked unless one of us changes it.
Yeah, perfect. So case is in the door, it's clean, it's attributed, data's pure. Now it's got to be worked. Tell me, so we're going to talk about what happens once it gets to a case manager. What did that case manager job look like kind of before you started, and what does it look like now?
And was again the very chaotic, like go sit with so and so osmosis kind of style training. So everyone was kind of doing things slightly their own way. We had this group over here did it this way, and this person learned from this person. We didn't really have a standardized kind of set of procedures, which again made it difficult to onboard new staff if we needed to ramp up.
And our big concern was we would need to ramp up. Anytime like the next cap that comes, which let's face it, is probably August for those of you that are taking bets. We're gonna have to go from, we're probably gonna have to triple the number of case managers. No company is ready for that. See, e.g., MMA, right? MMA did a lot of things bad, but the thing they just didn't do is they signed thousands and thousands of claims and didn't hire people and train people that could handle it. We were never going to let that happen, right? W- With that said, we weren't also just going to like sit out a cat and not sign claims, right? So we had to be ready to grow. So, kind of along those lines, what kind of leverage did we create for hiring case managers faster?
So we improved our hiring pipeline. We added some like different types of testing to kind of make sure that people kind of are what we're looking for and will fit in with the team and also, have the intelligence level that we need. We had a few times where our training didn't quite stick and we weren't sure why, but some of that was probably on us. We also improved our training system. We use Trainual now, and it has all of our SOPs in it. And when we onboard people, although they do get a lot of hands-on training, they are able to, within their first few days, kind of get like a deep dive into how the firm does things, and it gives them a much better basis and they have much better questions for their hands-on trainer.
And I'll kind of dovetail so we can kind of move towards the next topic relatively quickly. We also added AI, right? But I'm very proud of this. I said this at the very beginning of the day. We fired no one simply because we added AI, but we added AI in two key components for the staff, right? The first one was we connected their handbook to AI,
Yes.
which was pretty cool. So now a new staff member that has a question, we would like them to just come ask us because we want them to feel like they have an open relationship, but they also can just ask our own in-house AI that already communicates on Teams. Hey, I don't remember what the rule for this is. How does this work? And it goes and pulls it and shows them in the handbook where it is. Pretty neat. We also gave attorneys and case managers access to AI that would assist with drafting and documents. We had to lock down all that confidentiality, as you could imagine, but that allowed things like what? Like letters of rep were no longer like a choke point for us because they would just say, hey, draft that real quick, right? We still got to edit it. But now instead of using templates where we're worried about the names being changed every time, we're using auto drafting opportunities for the things that can be auto drafted, which is not your lawsuit, your discovery responses, but you can do a first draft of a lot of that stuff. Um, Communication falls off big time. When you sign more cases, attorneys get busy, they stop talking to clients, and so do case managers. How do we deal with that?
We developed a system for tracking the communications that our attorneys and case managers have with their clients. And that allows us to make sure that no case gets left behind. In addition to that, we actually created a position. She is our client experience specialist. She was helping you at registration. I don't see her now, but her name is Deja. And she serves as another point of contact for the client. She reaches out right after their case is open, sends a welcome gift, reaches out, makes sure they got it, introduces herself. And then she kind of monitors. If that case hasn't been touched in 30 days, 60 days, she'll reach out to the attorney and case manager, find out what's going on. And then sometimes she'll update the client, sometimes they will. And she also monitors our surveys. So if someone gets a bad client survey, she reaches out, finds out what's going on. And if it needs to be escalated to Lori or Galen, she does that as well.
Yeah, all big. So the case is in, case is now being worked. Money is moving largely out in a cat, really not in. You guys know this. The initial checks come in, but really it's months and months while the carriers try to even get organized. And meanwhile, no offense to any of you in this room, you guys aren't cheap. And, those of you that we have to hire for estimates for the organically signed cases, we're spending a lot of money. Um, but that created its own challenges. What did paying for things look like at this firm 18 months ago?
Well, we had about 30, 35 people using 6 shared credit cards and 1 debit card that was attached to our primary operating account.
And so I still to this day don't understand why that's bad, but why don't you tell them why that's bad?
All these charges were coming in. They were all Amex cards, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with American Express, but when you want to add a user, you need to give them your firstborn child, I think. And it can't be anyone other than the primary owner. So we would have to track Galen down, get him on the phone. He would have to answer every personal question that sometimes he didn't know the answers to, which that was always fun.
Yeah, I still don't understand that, but they knew more about me than I knew. It was kind of weird.
They really did. So it was very difficult. And that's why only like a handful of people had the cards, because I think you probably signed them all up at the same time.
Yeah.
And so then everybody was just sharing those cards all over the place. A charge would come in on Parker Logan's card, and it wasn't even for Parker's case. It might have been for Shay's case. And we could not track where the expenses went without a massive, massive effort.
Yeah, I found out later there was like a sheet circulating with all the credit card numbers and names, and you would just try one until it went through. Like they were all connected to the same account. So it wasn't really like, did we have money? It was like, are these numbers right? Or it was so weird. So what did we change?
We actually found out about a credit card, a digital credit card system called Ramp, and we're able to issue digital credit cards like just really quickly to anyone, even to vendors. Our IT vendor, Pavel's in the room. They even have their own card attached to our account that they have permission to use to buy us things that we need. but we're able to more easily track people's expenses, not only to them, but also to make sure that it gets tracked to the right case.
So then this is crazy. We then also started using AI as it related to expense tracking because we were losing a lot of expenses. We had a lot of bleed. At the end of the year, we would look at our financials and we'd be like, okay, we brought in this much in fees, and that was really, really good. And we recover all our expenses. We know what our overhead is. We have to pay people, right? And we have rent. Like, we know these are fixed numbers. So why are we so much poorer than we should be? And the answer is we're not recovering client expenses and we have no idea why, right? That $2,000 estimate we just never got paid back for because it was never entered in the system. That $405 filing fee times 300 we never got, right? Those $150 special master fees for the CMO times 800 never got logged, right? Like, because it was all so manual and it was based off of these credit cards and these physical checks. So then the craziest thing happened. I'm gonna let you explain this because this freaked me out. It only happened like a week and a half ago.
So we started building Felix. He is our accounting assistant. He knows a variety of things, but one thing we've been having him work on is kind of reconcile our ramp account and make sure that all the charges are allocated. And this was kind of before he learned actually how to crawl the court websites. But this initial one was kind of trying to track down attorneys who had not put the link in to show that they had put the expense in the case management system. Some of them are just really busy and don't have time to go into their ramp account. And some of them file things in the middle of the night and forget to tell people what case it's for. So as you can
I would
imagine,
never.
so, and I know that Galen's busy, so I know it's a lot easier for Galen to answer, just a quick message because Galen probably knows what case that was for. So I told Felix to just go ahead and ask Galen what case that filing fee was, well, these 2 filing fees were for.
So I'm in Costa Rica and randomly checking my phone like after a nap, and which is embarrassing because I realize that's 9:54 a.m., but whatever. Um, and Felix, who I know is not real, I know he's AI because I'm aware he's been working for us for a while, sends me this Teams message, which A, I'm like, how? That's ridiculous. And then B, my answer was, now that I realize, because again, I was napping, you can imagine what put me in the state to nap at 10 a.m. on vacation. But um, I told him Shay's FELC versus Brotherhood case. I don't think Shay. Huh? Well, first of all, I don't appreciate your tone. But secondly, it actually went and logged that expense in the case. You had to change it later because I was wrong. I don't understand how it figured out Shay's FELC. That is no useful information whatsoever. That's not a file number. That means you have to know I'm talking about Shay Jamais, which means you have to go through the cases and find which cases Shay Jamais has, which by the way are a couple of hundred. And then you have to find a case that matches up with FELC Brotherhood, which by the way is not the name of a case. It would be like First Evangelical Lutheran Church, right? It wouldn't be FELC. It wouldn't say that anywhere. And it's Brotherhood Mutual is actually good. And then the second one, I was like, oh, ask Catherine Miller, which is CJ. And I didn't even put this in. So then next thing I know, like 5 minutes later, he's kind of snotty. I'm on a group message with Felix and Catherine being like, hey, what's this other expense? Galen doesn't know what it is. Which was not appropriate, but nevertheless, and Felix continued to chase this down. And then once Felix chased it all down, he said, okay, I've entered all these expenses in the case management software. I pushed them through to accounting. Please let accounting know they can go ahead and pay it, which was crazy. This is all manual like 3 weeks ago. Wild. I don't know. It's a weird world we live in, and
We
it's
then
really
actually
scary.
trained it actually to go into the case filing systems for the various different courts and pull all the charges for a particular week or month and then check to make sure they were in Fileline. And if they were a charge that was on an individual attorney's credit card, they're then making sure it's in there. If it's not in there, it adds it and pulls the item link to put it into RAMP to make sure that we can verify later that it was actually accounted for in the case management system.
And even commissions, right? Commissions at our firm were really, really archaic. I share things with you guys that I probably shouldn't in retrospect, but um, but it's really archaic. Again, I don't think it reflects on the legal work we do. I think we do very good legal work. Who are any of our attorneys in the room? There's several, right? I'm looking for people I recognize. Lori's back there. Lori, how did you get paid on a commission? You can holler out. How did you get paid on a commission when you first started here? What was the process?
The process was that I would fill out a check request and then it would go to accounting, and then it would go to you, and then it comes back to me, and then I think it goes back to you.
It went back to accounting, but yes. That. Oh no, it went to me because that's right. So this is a piece of paper. I want to be clear. This is a piece of paper per attorney per case. Okay. And it literally went to all those people. It went to accounting so they could check it. She had to fill it out though. And then it went back to me. And then I had the little stamp that said approved and I had to stamp it and sign it, right? And then it went back to her to look at to make sure it was right. Then it went back to me. And then once every Friday night, because I like to party, I would sit down with the 200 of these that had come in over that 2 weeks and I would enter them into our payment system and hit pay. That was the process. And it honestly was the best process we had. Ashley found a commission software. She spent months and months really getting it onboarded. It was crazy. I felt so bad for her because she was like arguing with these people all the time. And then this is the crazy part. Like that was an operational fix. Great job. You got that commission software on, made my life so much easier. I could log in once every 2 weeks, look, hit approve, reject. But that was problematic too, right?
Yeah, it wasn't tracking everything that we wanted it to as far as the referral sources, external attorney referrals, and whether or not the fee that we collected was per the contract.
So what did Felix do about that?
Well, I gave Felix access to our existing commission system and told him to look and see how it worked. And then I just basically opened up the, voice chat on Claude and just ranted about all of the things that I did not like about it. And over the weekend, was it last weekend or the weekend?
It was last
before?
weekend, yeah.
Oh yeah, last weekend. He rebuilt a new system.
So we're getting rid of the old system?
Soon.
We have to make sure it actually works. It looks
Yeah.
like it works.
It's running in parallel right now, and
Yeah.
Galen's approval section of it is working, but I don't have the user interface done yet.
Yeah, so it still needs to build a login for you guys and everything, but 1 second. I just want to finish this thought because I'm about to forget it. But what it does do is it's gone. What's your question?
You're building AI systems to, like, let's say, assist you with thousands of cases. If it, let's say, makes a mistake consistently,
Yeah.
1,000 cases, that could be very detrimental.
Could be very detrimental. So this is a question as to how you decide to implement AI and use AI and how you put safeguards in place, right? That is anyone's nightmare, whether it's AI assisted or whether it's human assisted. Making one mistake is bad. Making 100 mistakes is really bad. Making 1,000 mistakes is someone ends up in jail or in bankruptcy court, right? I mean, I'm just being honest. And there are examples across our industry of exactly those situations. And if you need any of them, I will put them on the screen. But anyway, so we don't do that, okay? AI, for instance, the way we use AI is very selective. AI right now does not communicate with clients. It might suggest responses for attorneys or support staff to look at and edit as they see fit to send to clients. AI does not send documents to opposing counsel or judges. It might draft a document. And by the way, look up all the examples of lawyers getting sanctioned for not reading their friggin' AI generated documents. Every attorney here has signed a document that uses any AI for any casework, has already signed an agreement with me that they will check all that work and not just send it, right? Fair? Why are none of you backing me? That's so weird. Did you guys do something to the document? I'm talking about the Eve
document.
Yeah, you did. If you have access to Eve, you signed an AI usage agreement. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not sure
Did they read it?
Apparently they did not read it. Hey, would you guys spread the word that you need to read that agreement you signed? It would be helpful. Thank you.
Some of these are on a CYA, so you know not to.
Something without
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? So, but it's a fair point. So like what Felix is doing, Felix is going through and verifying expenses. He's crawling court filing receipts essentially, and he's looking in view only and accounts, and he's seeing those things. So if he makes a bunch of mistakes, it's fixable. And we have humans verifying everything he's doing, but it's saving time.
So it's AI doing heavy lifting and you guys making sure you review it. So then the danger would be after a lot of review and seeing that it's done correctly, a lot of the
Complacency.
getting lazy.
Complacency and laziness,
Let me
exactly.
just sign up on this. He's been right on it, guy.
That is the societal danger right now that we are facing on Epic at epic proportions that is not unique to this industry, and it is worldwide, and it is much worse than any of us realize. I do not want to be doomsday. I said I wouldn't do that after the first session this morning because that was sad. But that is the societal danger that we are facing in every industry right now, is the risk of AI doing so much that we become complacent and don't pay attention for when it makes a mistake.
Well, with regards to the expenses, I'm a big fan of checking and double checking and making things are right before we sure things are right before we go ahead, which sometimes slows Galen down and he doesn't always like it. But in this case, we actually, when the case settles, we used to have accounting check through all the expenses and make sure that the attorney had included them all in the disbursement. Now Felix checks it before accounting, but he actually goes back to the court website, pulls that particular case, and makes sure that all the filing fees also match. So he's even kind of checking his own work, so to speak. Well, it's not his work right now because most
Yeah.
of it's been done over the past
Previously,
2 years, but
but yeah, so he does the initial round, then he audits himself, and then the human, that's why, as I said, I fired no humans for this. The human that previously had to do all that himself and honestly was more prone to making a mistake because at that point he's tired, now is checking his work.
and then a second human finally checks it, which is Lori, is the
Yeah,
ultimate
and
stop.
then it gets audited yet again by Lori, and then sometimes spot audited by me.
Yeah, so I had 3 different AI systems audit the same annual budget, and it came up with 3 different answers. So
Yeah, and that'll happen. So what we have it focusing on is, and I don't want to get too in depth, but I'm happy to talk to any of y'all after about this. This is the importance of vaulting and having data storage because it's also probably relying on different contexts every time. Our AI does not have the ability to change context because we give it the context that it must rely on, and it's under very, very strict instructions as to where that context is located and where it's allowed to look. It's kind of the same as having a new employee and saying, no, you will only look in here when you're doing this task. That might be creative that you could go do that, but right now you're doing this. I would not speak to an employee that way, but I will absolutely speak to a robot that way. Integrations. We're kind of running out of time, but that's fine. Let's do, we'll do integrate. You want to do integrations or you want to do acquisition?
Whichever one you want to
Ladies'
do.
choice.
No,
But you pick one.
you got to choose.
Don't do this. Pick one. You're on the spot.
You can talk about
Integration
your
or
acquisition
acquisition?
because I feel like that's the one you want to talk
You think I
about.
need to get things off my chest? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it feels like.
I don't need to get things off my chest. Okay. So after Hurricane Ian, we acquired the assets of a Florida-based law firm. It was a terrible business decision for us. Not like put us in the like poorhouse or anything decision, but it was a bad culture fit. But we're here to talk about operations though. At the end of the day, we had one way of doing things and they had another way of doing things. And what we learned very quickly is that they would never do things the way we did them. But there was something really good that came out of this, which is we tried like hell to get them to do things our way. And we found out we couldn't. So let's talk about why we couldn't get them to do things our way besides obstinates.
Well, at that time, we were still training people by osmosis. We had procedures in the way that we did things, but we didn't have them written down, and they were mostly based upon Louisiana cases and the way we worked files here in Louisiana. But the firm that Galen decided to acquire was in
We
Florida,
acquired their assets. Just
or
to
we
be clear.
acquired their
Yeah.
assets. They were in Florida, so they handled their cases completely differently.
I like that Galen decided to do, which is fair, but
Yeah, it was fair.
feels like
It
it
was
did.
fair.
So anyway, but yeah, so we found out you apparently cannot remotely train an entire law firm by osmosis because they're not sitting with you all the time. We even flew people out there, and it just wasn't enough. And at the end of the day, it was a bad deal. It was a deal that should not have been done, and we ended up there was a ability to unwind the deal, so we did, but we're still fighting over it in court. But nevertheless, but a really good thing came out of it. What came out of it?
We learned that we needed to get things down in writing and have a better training system in place, which then kind of spread all throughout the firm to intake, case management, and everything. If we had had that now, if we did that again, we would have that in place. We could say, okay, hey, go check out these training materials that we have. We would probably still have to send someone out there to kind of help them with some things, but we would have everything set up in a much better way.
And I think that's the biggest piece, right? Is we would have had those SOPs, and that could have even been part of the discussion. Hey, here's how we do things. Why don't you take a look at them? Under an NDA, of course, but why don't you take a look at them? Because if you're not on board, we shouldn't even invest the time or money in doing this deal. We shouldn't even move into diligence. If you're not going to do things the way we're going to do things, this is going to be an unhappy marriage and we're going to end up in a divorce. So let's not get married, right?
And we were very fortunate that I think it might have even been less than a month before we acquired them where we switched over to Ramp. Had we still been using those Amex cards, we would have had a big problem because they wouldn't have had any way to pay for their filing fees.
Yeah, fair.
And a hurricane had just hit. So they needed to pay those fines.
They did, yeah. They had just had a hurricane and it was very expensive. But yeah, look, I mean, I'll say this. At the end of the day, you know, we acquired those assets when we barely started. We weren't ready, but it whipped us into shape. I mean, like, I think that's what the slide said. Like, it broke us into shape, which was really, really good. The reason that matters for everyone in the room, the reason I wanted to do this session is everyone here, whether you're thinking about absorbing another company, whether you're thinking about getting ready for the next CAT where you get a bunch of claims and, you know, some multiplier your intake. Operations is what determines whether you eat the work that's coming in or whether that work eats you. And I think that's really important. So that's why I wanted to kind of talk through this. The 3 things I want you to walk out with, though, because this is mainly my last time talking to you, is chaos doesn't get solved by marketing harder. It gets solved by operations that hold the load, right? Every fix Ashley described started with admitting we had a problem. If we had not admitted we had a problem, we would have made no changes. Whether that's from the lock on the source field, the decision to get rid of Amex, none of those happened until someone had said the thing that everyone in here, my lovely team who's here, the things we would silently bitch to ourselves or a coworker about, but not just say at an organizational level, this is messed up. It wasn't until someone said that out loud that we could make that change. Otherwise, none of this happens, right? You don't need Arch Stack. You don't need Ramp. Like, the point of this thing was not, hey, go use our vendors. We don't care. I don't even know if I get a referral fee.
We do get a referral fee for Ramp.
So if you go to Ramp, say it with a referral fee. But I don't care about the referral fee. I don't care whether you use our stuff, right? That's not the point. The point is you need to find a bottleneck, whether that's intake, the way money works, how your files are stored, right? And you want to fix it before the CAT lands. I said this in the very first session. The calm is the warning, and that's where we are. Ashley, anything that you would add for somebody in this room about to deal with either a CAT increase, a one-line takeaway? What you got?
Level up your operations before the storm, or the storm will level your operation.
Whoa.
AI helps me with that a little bit, I will admit.
Definitely not drafted by AI. All right, thanks, guys. Good luck. Thanks for joining us for this special episode of the Level Up Claims podcast. As Ashley discussed, the businesses that succeed during periods of rapid growth aren't necessarily the ones generating the most opportunities. They're the ones prepared to handle them. Strong operations, documented processes, effective training, and the right systems create the foundation that allows organizations to scale without breaking. We hope you found value in this session. Stay tuned for more presentations and insights from the 2026 Level Up Claims Summit. And as always, thank you for listening to the Level Up Claims podcast. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date on our latest podcast.